BigID is really about data risk and data value. We go and we accurately identify and classify and categorize data at large scale for really complex organizations. So this could be a large retailer looking for personal identifiable information for regulatory compliance use cases. This could be identifying or pre-sanitizing data that's going into AI or LLM models to make sure that no sensitive data gets uploaded. And that could be for privacy regulations, understanding the residency or the context of this is a European customer, so we're subject to GDPR, or they're a resident of California, so CPRA is important. The biggest difference between a lot of the more traditional classification engines is really the granularity that we can discover and then the breadth of coverage. We scan everything from structured data and analytical data to unstructured data, semi-structured, to IT applications. So people are sending messages on Slack or Teams. That represents a very real data risk that is traditionally ungoverned by traditional tools.
So you plug into some of these other enterprise applications as an API or something that you
Correct.
have? Okay.
And we can iterate over scan message, identify where maybe you and I are in the same Scrum team, and I ask, hey, can you send me the password for this database? Now that's living in existence out there. And that's what we find, identify, help protect, and reduce risk from.
Tell me a little bit about your background. Are you were you a hardcore geek as a kid? Were you
No
computer science grad?
I have probably the most unorthodox journey to BigID that you can have. So, right out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I joined the Marine Corps. So I spent time in the U.S. military and the French military, actually, and spent several years.
French Foreign Legion?
Yeah. Several years kind of living
abroad. Scratch the tech conversation.
Yeah.
We're talking about this now. How long were you in the French Foreign Legion?
2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, so I was living abroad for several years. I came back and I still had some of my clearances from my time in the U.S. military. So I went to a coding boot camp for 7 months, like coding day in, day out, and went to work for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the FBI doing software engineering for identity and access management.
Talk to me a little bit about how you're working with MongoDB. Yep. What do they provide for you?
So Mongo is our backend database for BigID. I mean, there could be no BigID without Mongo. And it's not just an application database, it's also an analytical layer on top of the database. For example, we have a large European bank where we're scanning all of their mailboxes for 800 million people's attributes and entities. The scale of size is, hundreds of millions of entities across tens of attributes. And so all of that data gets pushed back into Mongo, and we do aggregate queries and sorting and functions to derive insights and predictability of how sensitive this data is on top of Mongo. So it's really important, the relationship we have with them, great partners. We couldn't do what we do at the scale that we do on a traditional database. Most databases were created when people listened to cassettes on a Walkman. Mongo came out with a data model that allows us to continually iterate, adapt, and update so we can kind of add new functionality, change our data model with times, and run super complex queries on top of it to do a lot of the heavy lifting that we need.